This is a poem called You Have Been Told So Many Lies, she said, with a sad shake of her head and the smile of one who expected resistance to all the corrections that would now come. In the halls of a dim museum, authoritative in some sharp-shoulder suit, she told me the history of Give Back the Vote Day, showed me black and white photographs of all who had marched to return their rights, their placards inked with, "If it ain't broke, we can't be trusted," and "I know my place," their faces grey and loud with submission. Seeing me, her laugh was a porcelain hand laid on my throat. You were told democracy was what the people wanted. It's not. You talk about listening, but if you did, you would know how much they love to be governed without their permission, how much trust they place in the hands of those who promise only to rock them back to an innocent sleep. Really, I feel sorry for you. I very nearly believed her until I saw the walls tremor. I remembered her breaking into my head, knew how I would wake up soon and chase her and her travesty of my history out.
Here, when I'm in this office, I am odd job, a squat with arms like thighs and a sickly zoo smell. I do not have a razor-edged hat or the ability to decide when strangers can touch my hair. My word sits eagerly in the roof of my mouth next to the coffee machine. Each time they feel ready for this new birth, it proves another false labor. Sarah reminds me that the words of Black women have a much longer gestation period. I can't work out if I'm a mute or if I've been turned off at the wall. Maybe this is just another forced sterilization. Thank you. And the next one I'm going to read is called Intruders, and I'll read the introduction as well. Anguilla was first settled by indigenous American Indian peoples who migrated from South America. When Anguilla was first colonized by Europeans is uncertain. Some sources claim that Columbus sighted the island during his second voyage in 1493, while others state that the first European explorer was a French nobleman and merchant in 1564. In 1992, I arrived with a body too small to carry anything other than the smell of EastEnders, returning each year, just like they had taught me in school and called it mine. Wrapped my tongue around the accent, hoping to abstract the coral and limestone as though I were hollow, telling stories of mother to children she had never called inside for dinner. Oh, small island people. You have again welcomed visitors who planned to steal the shovel you grew them with. With hair as straight as rulers, they consumed everything that was offered to them, took everything that wasn't. Planted tobacco and sugar in your bloodline and claimed ignorance when the cancer spread. Oh, small island people. Do you not hear the settler in this accent? How I have come here to take what does not belong to me, name it ancestry. All I know of this island is what my grandmother taught me, and we curtsy to the same queen. Mahaliana, they took your name, then baptized you eel, something slippery, mysterious, needing to be caught. At least I call you home.
Edith Sykes kneels on the bare stone, tucking her apron under swollen knees. These days, raking the fire is difficult, getting up harder. She reaches for the hearth brush, Leaning forward, she begins her early morning ritual of coaxing soot down the chimney. There's little feeling in her hands, but they've done this job 1,000 times. They complete the task like a released, wind-up toy. Edith pulls out the tray, then reaches for her ashpan. Thomas's brother nickel-plated it himself as a wedding gift. Once more, her red hands set to work, sweeping up every last bit of ash and pouring it into the tray. Waste not, want not. She shifts her weight onto one knee, gripping the tray in her stronger hand as she reaches forward with the other to steady herself on the chimney. She winces from the pain of bone on stone as she releases her knee and slides her foot forward. Then, with a push on foot and chimney, she's up. She allows herself the shadow of a smile. Not one speck of ash has spilled. Once outside, a sudden gust slams the door shut behind her as flying ash stings her eyes. Edith mutters a gentle oath, her vision blurred. She feels her way down the icy path, laying the remnants of last night's fire, eking it out to the garden gate. No one will slip on her path. She pauses to blink, refocusing her eyes to scan the distance. The mine stands like a dinosaur on the horizon. She tries to picture the men underground. She's never been down, but she's heard the local lads describe it often enough. Colliers to a man. They tell tales of daily dangers and heroics, no doubt embroidered more elaborately than their mother's samplers in the hope of impressing the girl. Sometimes the men speak in hushed voices that are not for women's ears. Today is her lad Joseph's first day. At 14, it's time to be a man, time to go crawling on hands and knees into tight spaces the older men can no longer squeeze in, though once they did. Joseph is strong but wiry. His lungs are not yet black. He will be called upon to set the charge. Edith pulls her shawl tightly around her shoulders. Thomas will be there. He will look out for his boy. Edith turns back up the path. Once inside, she lays the hearth with yesterday's coal, then kindling, then she adds coiled newspaper, taking special care to shape it into an image of the trumpet Joseph will now play in the colliery band. She adds more kindling, wood split by her husband, and finally, fresh coal, all ready to light for her men. Men, so strange to think of her little boy as a man. Edith's nipples tingle involuntarily as she remembers him so small and needy, born too soon. She knew instinctively to tuck her miniature baby into her dress, his little body nestling against her skin. She wraps her already tight shawl a little tighter, crossing it over and tucking the ends into her apron as she remembers that day. She wasn't ready to let him out into the world. The midwife gave Edith a pitying look, but said nothing. The doctor said the child wouldn't live and left her to it. Let her do what she must, he advised the midwife as he shook his head. Edith never managed to keep a second pregnancy long enough to have another baby to hold and feed. Joseph was her gift from the angels. Edith is glad of the housework today. She sings the song her Welsh cousin taught her when she was a girl, Cwm Rhondda, as she works the dough, thudding it down like a potter at her wheel, then folding and repeating in an easy, soothing rhythm. At one point, she hears a rumble in the distance, like the heavens joining in. Edith smiles at the thought, despite her quickening heartbeat. It's long after dark, the stew bubbling on the range, fresh bread and butter ready on the kitchen table, when Edith finally hears footsteps crunch up the ashes on her path. Her ears burn as she checks there are 2 sets. She hardly recognizes her son's gait. Already, her boy sounds like a grown man. The door opens, the fire in the grate dancing like a giddy child. Her husband stands in the doorway, cap in hand. Edith peers around him, anxious to quiz her boy about his first day as a man. But behind Thomas, Edith can just make out the outline of the manager. Her husband's eyes search hers. His bottom lip quivers. Edith's own eyes sting for the second time today. She looks at the fire blazing in her tidy grate and grips her shawl.